Today on Locked On NBA, let the debates begin. Our Locked On Grizzlies host takes aim at everybody who disrespected Ja Morant in the top 100 player rankings. I have a feeling he's not going to like this program very much. Plus, we agree that Cade Cunningham has top 10 potential. Who else could join him in the top 10 next season? Let's jump in.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here, and right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets. Download the FanDuel app to get started. I'm Wes Goldberg, and we are talking today about the fallout from the Locked On Podcast Network's top 100 player rankings and Victor Wembanyama unlocking a new achievement. And we're doing it with the help of our Locked On's local experts. I have the two best on the network with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast. He's a senior NBA writer for the Action Network, Matt Moore. Matt.
Love seeing the reactions across social media for the Locked On 100. It's been really fun. If you want to know the most passionate responses and how much usually whenever I do anything like this, the biggest hate comes from the general public and the fans. But no. The biggest fighting, folks, has come inside the house. The call is coming from inside the house because the other hosts are mad at each other. It's good. This is a war in the DMs over the Locked On 100.
And from the Locked On Bulls podcast, he's also a Bears and Bulls creator for Bleacher Report. It's Haize. Haize.
You know, one thing I love is that when there is any inner turmoil things going on in Locked On, I stay clear from it. That's when I let Pat deal with you guys. I just stay clear of it, and I just chill, and I like to come here and talk about my content. That's all.
That's like the synthesis of the difference between me and Haize is like, my name's Paul, and this is between y'all, and I'm the one who's like, hey, he said that your guy sucks.
Well, Matt, you did call this ahead of time, right? You said, I don't remember if we were on air or off air, but you were like, just wait for Joe Mullinax. Just wait for his reaction from Locked On Grizzlies. So that's what we're going to do here. Over the course of the next few days, we're going to be reacting to what the hosts across the network think about these top 100 rankings. We're going to be reacting to the reaction here. And Matt, like I said, you called this ahead of time. Jaren Jackson Jr., he comes in at number 25. Ja Morant comes in at 28. Here's Joe's response on this morning's Locked On Grizzlies.
Morant, according to the Locked On NBA podcast universe, is the 28th best player in the entire National Basketball Association. I want to have, over the course of this season, and you know me well enough by now to Michael Cole, I am petty enough to do this. I want to have every single member of this network on this podcast. And I want to demand that they tell me, I want to know their ballot. And I want to know who voted for James Harden in 2025 ahead of Ja Morant, because that is absolutely insane.
Show of hands, who voted Harden over Ja Morant? Who's on Joe Mullinax's bleep list? Me, Matt, Haize, you not so much. Why did you have? Well, Matt, I want to start with you. Let's give me the Harden over Morant argument, and then Haize can defend the Mullinax-Haize position.
James Harden has a well-established history of failing in the playoffs. James Harden has a well-established history of enjoying the very fruit that every single city's nightlife has to offer. He will taste from that cup every chance he gets. But you know what he doesn't do is he doesn't miss games because he decided to play around with guns, sabotaging what was a great season. He doesn't miss games with injury. That dude is almost always healthy, and he is consistent. Ja was not consistent last season. And this was always the worry with his high-flying athletic ways is, okay, when those injuries start racking up. Last year we talked about on the show, he's like, well, I'm not going to dunk anymore. And, like, he's struggling with the fact that Ja's an amazing passer, but a lot of his finishes require hyper-athleticism, which takes from the body. And he hasn't adapted. That's why the jumper is still not where it needs to be. Now, Ja can jump back into top 10. This guy was an MVP candidate. He could get back there, but he's going to have to, one, avoid any off-court trouble that can derail the team because it does impact the locker room. And I don't care. I know Memphis fans think the whole thing was unfair. Fair or not, stay out of trouble. Like, stay focused. You're getting paid all this money. You got the Nike deal. Stay focused. And then he's going to have to stay on court, and he's going to have to round out the game. Because Harden has all those things to his credit. The Clippers were a very good team last season, and Harden was their most consistent contributor. I do not feel bad at all about having Harden not only higher, but much, much higher Joe Mullinax.
Now, I want to be clear here because Wes kind of threw me under the bus. He said I have to defend me and Mullinex's opinion. We're not the same. We're not one and the same. He's offended by it. I can understand why James Harden people vote, and I don't have them that far. I just did have I had Ja Morant above James Harden. I had him 2 spots above James Harden, so it wasn't a huge gap there. But I think that when you look at it, the highs of what Ja Morant can be right now are higher than what James Harden did. I think Ja averaged more points, he averaged more assists, I believe, as well, with less turnovers. And so in the right there as far as rebounding wise, like statistically they're about the same. Now, when you start talking about the things off the court being available, all those type of things, okay, you have a conversation. But I was judging this one in my voting just off of right now. But all things even, who do I think can impact more? And I think that Ja Morant can impact the game if he's locked in more areas right now than what James Harden does.
Ja was 34th percentile at the rim last season. 59% at the rim, 34th percentile. He was 42% from mid-range, fine. And he was 31% from 3.
Bad.
Like, again, Ja's an underrated passer. The guy is amazing as a playmaker. That's my favorite part of Ja's game. But, like, you cannot be an elite offensive weapon with those kind of shooting splits. Now, Harden's, I will go ahead and cop here, are not much better at the rim, but he did shoot 37% from 3, and he's a better free throw shooter, and he gets to the line more. Like, if Ja was an elite defender, I would understand this, but he's not. And then you throw in, again, if Ja stays on the floor and avoids nonsense, I'm in. I'm back in. I want Ja to be great. But Harden's done the thing, and I respect guys that have done the thing and continue to do it way more, and I'm more forgiving even of down seasons, which is why the Paul George description was absolutely insane to me.
I don't see an argument for Ja Morant to be over James Harden at this point. There's the availability part of it, which we've already discussed. I mean, if you go by the last 3 seasons, James Harden has played 209 games. Ja Morant has played 120. And that is a huge difference. And if we just go by even on the court stuff, when even Ja Morant is healthy, I don't think there is an argument to be made that James Harden was the better player last year on the court than Ja Morant was, right? James Harden was the one getting all-star buzz and all-NBA buzz. Ja Morant wasn't. So even if we do the what have you done for me lately thing, Harden is the better player right now. Nobody's disputing that Ja Morant can hit higher ceilings. The question is, how often does that happen, and can you rely on it? And I don't know that the Grizzlies can, so much to the point that he's not even the highest-rated Grizzly, right? Jaren Jackson Jr. is ranked 25 across the network. Ja Morant is at 28, and like I said, I don't see a reason to put Morant over any of these guys, including Harden.
Well, I mean, look, I'll ask you this. Let's swap out. It's very different, but let's swap out Harden and Ja. Would you feel better or worse about the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard and that roster with Ja Morant or James Harden?
You want Harden.
Okay, Wes, let's pretend that you actually want to win the champion. You want to win like a big playoff game. Like you want to win it.
The thing with the Harden part with the Clippers is that he's available, and it just feels like that's exactly who they need when you're also building around Kawhi. My fear with Ja and with Kawhi is that there's going to be a lot of games where I don't have any of them, and now I'm asking Derek Jones Jr. to do a lot more than he's supposed to do.
Now, I mean, I get that. I understand it. I will say, yeah, you're right. Because like Harden played 79 games last season.
Right.
Like he played 79 games last season. But I will also tell you, if you go look at any of the metrics on any of the sites that show you like career stuff, and they will illustrate to you like, hey, there's a downward slope here. That you need to be aware of with Harden. I think if you're going to say like, well, Harden's been better. Yeah, but Ja was an MVP candidate more recently than Harden was. I think that does need to factor in there. But again, he's got to stay on the floor.
when he stays on the floor, he's amazing, and everybody here is rooting for him to stay on the floor because he can be so amazing and lift that Grizzlies team to those playoff heights that we saw a couple of years ago. But I'm sure that won't be the last disagreement we have here on today's show or across the Locked On Podcast Network. Let us know in the YouTube comments. James Harden, Ja Morant, why are we wrong? I'm sure the comments will be very civil here. Coming up, Joe is on an island when it comes to Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. Where are Matt and Haize planting their flag? We'll talk about who we're higher on than the consensus after this. Today's episode of Locked On NBA is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Welcome back to Locked On NBA. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. If you've been listening for a long time, please support the show by hitting that subscribe button on YouTube. There are a ton of opinions across the network, and you guys are among the most opinionated and I would say, obviously, the most knowledgeable hosts that we have. So I'm curious, who do you guys think, when you look at our top 100 rankings, who do you guys think should be higher than what they were ultimately ranked in our final list? Matt, we'll start with you.
So I mentioned this yesterday. I will go ahead and go to bat once again for Rudy Gobert. That, to me, the fact that he's 51st as being the best rim protector in the NBA. If you make a list of the best centers, he's not going to be like in the top 5 because of the offensive side of that. And I get it, but like Rudy shapes the game and dominates and like cuts off everything on the interior in a way that I think is really pretty knowledgeable and important. Nickeil Alexander-Walker being 97th. Nickeil's a great 3-point shooter and an elite defender. And when he got added to the Hawks, everyone was like, whoa, look out, to the point where like Detroit fans were despondent that they didn't get NAW. Well, if he's that important, how is he 97th on this list? Like, there's just a lot of guys that, like, I'd rather have NAW than a lot of guys who are higher on this list. I think that has to be there. And then one final one, Haize, I get it, man. Paul George was bad last year. We need to always keep in mind that going to Philadelphia sucks the very soul from basketball players' bodies, that it infects them with some sort of failure virus. That the best example of this is that Al Horford has been good literally every season of his career, except when he went to Philadelphia. And PG, like, if he gets traded, I would not be surprised. It was like, PG gets traded, everybody's like, this is actually pretty good. It's Paul George. Like, a year ago, like in 2023-24, he was like holding the Clippers up while Kawhi was out. He was awesome. He was great to begin that season. I think we've overcorrected a little bit for Paul George. For him to be 76th here is a little much.
I get what you're getting at with Paul George. I think it's easy to forget, though, about Paul George with things that's happened over the last couple of years. I'm going to go one spot actually above Paul George and say Kristaps Porzingis. I get it that he's been injured, but I think, like, when you look at big men that can be two-way big men and really still anchors of your defense and still put up points when you need them to, Kristaps Porzingis is still a unicorn. He's not able to stay as healthy anymore, but I'm excited to see a season that he has in Atlanta. I think he should have been ranked a little bit higher than that, so I'll go to bat for Kristaps Porzingis on that one. And then I also say, look, I know it hasn't been a large sample size, but when we look at some of the guys above him, I guess I could make a case for also Denny Avdija being a little bit higher than what he is. I'm not saying that he should be extremely higher, but I can see him going 5, 6 spots up against some of those people. So Denny, I really like him as well. And then I think we did talk a little bit about Isaiah Hartenstein as well yesterday. Isaiah Hartenstein being one of the better two-way bigs and just a guy that just does his job. I can make a case for him being above some other players on that list.
Denny's a great call, Haize. He is, when you say he's probably like number one on our list of, if you were like, hey, which of these guys outside the top 50 are going to be inside the top 30 next year? they're going to jump 20 spots, then he's got to be one of the highest up there.
He very well could be. Yeah.
There's some inconsistencies, I think, within this list, and we're starting to hit on them a little bit here. I mean, when we just talk about the availability part of this too, right? If we're judging ceilings or not, one name that really stands out is Joel Embiid at number 52. And to me, this is the perfect spot to have Joel Embiid just right in the middle because nobody knows what to do with him. He's not the best player in the league, although he can be, when he's healthy, be the best player on any given night. And he's not the worst player in the league, although any given night he could just not be available. And then by definition, you're just not very good. So having him like right around the equator part of this list makes sense. But what did you guys end up doing with Embiid on your lists?
Put him at 30 and didn't feel good about it. Like I didn't, the consistency part, but that was also, I built the list out without the guys that are injured for the season and then just like stuck them back in where I would have them. But one of the instructions on the assignment was next year. What's it going to look? How good are these players next year? Well, Haize, who's going to have more of an impact on the floor next year in the NBA? Joel Embiid or Tyrese Halliburton?
I mean, sadly, this one is going to be Joel Embiid.
Joel Embiid.
Yeah, he's not going to.
Even if he plays one, he's going to play the first half. He's going to play the first minute of game one, and he's got more impact, right? And if we go, on reflection, if that's the category here, this is why the injury thing was flummoxing for me, and this is why these lists are difficult in figuring out these parameters. But with Embiid, you have to just assume that he's going to miss half the season. You have to assume that he's going to dominate in the half season that he does play, or at least be very good. He struggled some there. There are all these questions still about what's he going to be like. There's so many rumors, Haize, about like, hey, where's this going? Like, it's not good. Like, we're already hearing bad stuff, which I think has to alarm you. But I mean, when the guy is right, able to go, you still can't do anything with him. It's impossible to figure out what to do with him or the Sixers.
Yeah, I mean, injuries are one of those things that, we're not necessarily supposed to be taking into consideration, but it's hard not to, right? Like, that's the history of injuries is all that's there. And, Joel Embiid, when he's on the court, we all know how amazing he can be. And I do think that this Philadelphia 76ers team has some really good talent. They have to figure out some balance there at the 1, 2, and 3 spots. But there's some talent here on this 76ers team. And if you knew that Joel Embiid was going to be healthy for, let's say, 68 games, and the playoffs, the sky's the limit for them to be able to go. That's how transformative he can be. But like guys like him and Zion, it's just really difficult in lists like this to know exactly where to put them.
Can I throw one more name at you guys? Because I feel like I'm always higher on this guy than consensus, and I understand that he comes with his warts, and he's not the easiest player to build a team around and things like that. But this one is for the Hoopers out there. DeMar DeRozan at 69. That guy is a bucket getter. He's efficient. He's a clutch shot maker. He's very, very good at the thing that he does. I'm not saying he needs to be top 20. I'm not saying he needs to be a perennial all-star candidate anymore. But having him behind Zach LaVine, Jalen Suggs, and Alex Caruso, I understand that Caruso's awesome defensively, and NBA Twitter can get really mad at me. Like I said, this one is for the Hoopers. DeMar DeRozan's a very good player. To have him this low, I'm going to plant my flag. I think he should at least be closer to where guys like Joel Embiid are on this list.
Haize?
I mean, here's the thing with DeMar is that what DeMar does is very special, and he is one of the most prolific scorers in NBA history when you go and look at it, especially the fact that he's done it with basically the three-point shot not being a weapon or a tool for him, a solid playmaker. Like DeMar he's really good at the game of basketball. The problem when it comes to DeMar, though, is that how successful can you be? How can you be with him on your team and as one of the prominent members and one of the biggest parts of your offense? Because it hasn't been that great over the last few years. But yeah, no doubt, like DeMar DeRozan is one of the best players in NBA history, and people do need to realize that. He just hasn't had the success.
He makes everyone worse. He does, man. There's no real argument against it. Like, everyone gets worse around him. By the way, jump off of singling out Zach LaVine there, Wes. Zach was 95th percentile on spot ups and off the dribble jumpers last year. That dude is an absolute nuclear weapon when it comes to offense. every player that plays next to DeRozan in a high usage capacity gets worse. Zach LaVine was on an all NBA trajectory before DeRozan showed up in Chicago. Boo! Can't be traded. Keegan Murray, man, what an exciting young talent. How incredible. Now, boo! There he goes. Off the map. You can't win in the playoffs with DeMar. What sucks about this is DeMar is one of the most respected guys in the league. Like, everyone respects DeMar, and for good reason. If you speak with DeMar DeRozan in any capacity, you will come away impressed. He is a genuine, legit, very real human who deserves all the respect in the world and has made a lot of money and deserves it. His individual basketball skills are very, very high. The Hooper part of this, I think, is interesting because you can make a comparison here with DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Durant, where it's like individually the skill set is unbelievable. Why can't you win with them? Why couldn't the Nets win with KD? Why couldn't the Raptors win with DeRozan? Well, that was LeBron. Why couldn't the Spurs win with DeRozan? Why can't the Kings win with DeRozan? If he's this good, why can't anybody win with him?
I think he should be higher than where he's at.
That's the Hooper take. That's the Hooper take. Is don't actually respond or use.
You lost me at the spot up shooting analytics thing. You lost me there, Matt. I was like, oh no, he's gonna bring up the analytics stuff.
Who wants to look at the hoop combo?
Victor Wembanyama is the youngest player in our top 10, and he could be adding new layers to his game this summer. We'll talk about that and which young player could be joining him in the top 10 after this. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. The Locked On Podcast Network has a show for every team. Check out Locked On Grizzlies. Check out Locked On Spurs. Check out Locked On Kings for more from the local experts on today's top stories. I want to look ahead here for a second. We've seen guys like Anthony Edwards, Victor Wembanyama jump into the top 10 over the last couple of years, and we are seeing aging stars like LeBron and Kevin Durant fall out of the top 10. So when you guys look at the next crop of guys, and let's just call it from 11 to 20, on our Locked On list here, who in that group specifically do you think could crack the top 10 next season, Haize?
Cade Cunningham. I think Cade Cunningham is on the path to get there. I think, him and the Detroit Pistons are slated to have a really good season, probably be top 4 or 5 in the Eastern Conference. I think all those things are going to combine. I think Cade Cunningham is going to be right there next year, getting into that top 10.
I've taken a bunch of them from Haize. So Haize took Cade from me, and that's fair. I respect that. I've sniped him on a bunch of takes, so I think that's fair. Evan Mobley is going to be my next one. Defensive Player of the Year, absolutely. He is him being at 16. I get that's probably more appropriate than where Jaren Jackson Jr. is at, but Mobley is so good at so many things. He made such a leap in so many areas. Like, there's a trajectory here where Evan's their best player inside the next 3 years, and Donovan Mitchell's still going to be in his prime. So I think Mobley is on track. There was a lot of talk that he could be the best player of that draft. I cannot wait for Cade, Evan Mobley, and then if Jalen Green, who I actually had, by the way, on this list. I think I am the highest person of anybody in the network on Jalen Green, which is funny. But that trio competing for the 22 draft, I'm very excited for.
I'm looking at this list too, guys, and I know this was not the assignment. This is different than when I asked you, but would it be crazy to see Kevin Durant jump back into the top 10 if the Houston Rockets finished 2 or 3 in the Western Conference? Are we just gonna be like, you know what, Durant, can't quit this guy. He's a top 10 guy, even if he's just at 10. I mean, he's at 11 right now. We're basically talking about semantics, but would it be crazy to see Kevin Durant or even LeBron jump back into the top 10 with a strong season?
LeBron.
You think LeBron would be surprising?
LeBron would be crazy. Dude's 41. Like, even amongst him, we have to be like, surely this stuff. And if you look at kind of the overall trends and use whatever you care about from a concrete number standpoint, you look at any of those and you're going to be like, oh yeah, there's like a little curve there downward. It's just inevitable. Versus KD, I was amazed going over KD stuff this summer. Like, he's still so good from everywhere. So yeah, like, especially if the Rockets win here's a great question. The Rockets win the championship, where do we put him? If he wins finals MVP for a 2 seed, and goes through the Thunder, where do we put KD?
Higher than Jason Tatum, at least.
Yeah.
The other one here is Devin Booker. He was a guy that was flirting with top 10, probably was top 10 a couple years ago. He was on MVP ballots a couple years ago. Obviously has fallen off since then, but would it be crazy to see Booker with another strong season? I mean, look, Phoenix isn't going to be any good, right? They're going to stink. But what if Devin Booker wins the scoring title?
He scored on the team with somebody. They need somebody to score. They wouldn't do anything to me.
I think the Suns are not going to be terrible. I think they're going to be very
really.
I kind of do. I think I've gone for 39 wins right now, which is not good. Yeah, but but this is important.
It's better than expected.
Yeah, like if you want to, like you said, they're going to be garbage. Like
I said, they'd stink.
No, like the Jazz are going to stink. My Wizards are going to stink. The Suns are just going to be, but I think they're going to be a tougher out, and they're going to have better vibes this season, and there's runway there. One thing kind of pulling against this, though, is the early reports are that I don't think Book needs a run point. I don't think that's good for him. I think we saw last year and the year before, it's just not a good, like, he's a great playmaker, but shouldn't be running point guard. But they're going to have Jalen Green do it. And if you tell me that Jalen Green is running point, and I got to evaluate who's supposed to get the ball in those situations from the point guard, I get nervous. So that's a concern.
They didn't learn their lesson and not have. You think they would have learned from not having a point guard?
Mm-hmm.
They just keep going the other way. They had a great one in Chris Paul, and they're like, let's keep getting less and less of a point guard at that spot.
But they tried Tyus Jones, who should be good. And
his actual on-offs weren't that bad for them last year.
Tyus Jones is I have my opinions on Tyus Jones, but we'll leave that one there. Speaking of players,
we get a hater as the new host, Haize.
I know,
Jason
right?
Tatum cracks.
Tyus Jones is like an NBA Twitter god, and when all of NBA Twitter loves one player, I tend to start to push back, and that's maybe just the contrarian in me. I'm like, okay, the guy brings the ball up court and then doesn't try anything, and that's why he has a low turnover ratio. Thank you very much. Okay,
he's better than who's playing point guard for y'all this year?
Who's y'all?
Your team,
the Heat. The Heat.
Yeah. Who's playing point guard for you guys this year?
They are post point guard. Hey, come on now.
Do you want Jalen Green as your point guard, Wes?
I'm with Matt on Jalen Green. I actually don't think he's that bad.
Oh, wow.
There was a little bit of hey, Jimmy Butler for Jalen Green stuff before the deadline, but let's move on here. Different Houston Rocket topic. How's that for a segue? Speaking of players in top 10, you guys have seen this player or this picture of Victor Wembanyama working out with Hakeem Olajuwon making the rounds online. This is from Victor Wembanyama's Instagram account. We know already that Wemby has spent time this summer with Kevin Garnett and in a Shalom Temple with Monks. What do you make of Wemby working with the Dream?
I'll go first. So usually when I see guys are working with Hakeem, I'm just kind of like, oh, that's like they'll pick up some stuff. That's good. Didn't do anything for Dwight. Like that was supposed to be a big thing, and Dwight never could do it because Dwight was a pick and roll center. This is actually maybe the most significant team up with Hakeem I've ever seen. Because if you watch Wembanyama, one thing that always stands out to me is he is still very sloppy and raw with his footwork, positioning, and strength. And so if you get him with the guy who literally has the best footwork of all time and the best signature move of all time, as we all know, as opposed to the guy that won some nonsense tournament on this channel, that capacity is huge. Like Wembanyama being able to get the footwork to go to that fadeaway, to understand his balance, to understand the counter moves, making things easier for him by adding more technique, that scares me. Because with a lot of it with Wemby is like he could be anything. But there's also this, he's got to actually sharpen these things. There's so much with him when I watch him where he looks uncertain and doesn't have go-to stuff and doesn't have go-to maneuvers. So this to me, Haize, is terrifying because not only because of the post-work stuff, because that's what everybody's going to talk about. For me, it's triple threat. If he gets the ball at the nail and Hakeem teaches him about how to use the space between the nail and the bucket to navigate as a big man, that's going to fundamentally change things on top of his three-pointer already being pretty good. I actually think this is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Wemby needs to be collecting all the infinity stones possible. He needs to work with every big man that has the varying different skills, because right now, the thing that I think we all realize about Wemby, the thing that's so scary about him is that he is so good without having refined skills right now. So, working with Hakeem can do nothing but help him. You're talking about a guy himself, which was a two-way big and just able to just, play the game in a lot of different ways. So that's going to be really good for Wemby. And he's doing the right thing. Wemby's going through and learning and being the sponge and taking advantage of learning everything. And as Wemby continues to add to his tool shed, we could be talking about a guy who literally has just about everything in his bag. That's the potential of Wemby. I think sometimes people have the tendency to try to view him through who they think he could be, but he's not that yet. But he'll get there, and this is a step in that right direction.
I just love how committed he is to learning and stuff. You could see a lot of guys with his size and his talent and his skill level just walking to the NBA, and he's like, "Hey, I already got it all. Like, what else do you need? I'm 7'5". I do all this stuff." And he's like, "Nope. What can I add? Kevin Garnett, what can you teach me? Hakeem Olajuwon, what can you teach me?" And that's got to be terrifying for the rest of the league. That said, on the way out of here, guys, if you could just see another picture of Victor Wembanyama with anybody, your dream picture, Victor Wembanyama and blank, who do you want that picture to be over the next couple of months, Matt?
Abraham Lincoln.
That would be wild. Who's taller?
I say that mostly because of the Fight Club reference where he says, "I fight Abe Lincoln. Skinny guys fight till they're bitter." By the way, there is a great picture circulating of him with Daniel Radcliffe and Tina Fey that I have looked at approximately 7 million times today. So it's like, go find that.
If he could capture the comedic timing of Tina Fey and then deploy that in post-game press conferences, it's the entire package.
Yes.
That's hilarious. I would say Dennis Rodman. I think that he needs a little edge. Get the Rodman edge to what Wemby's already been able to do. Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thanks to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making Locked On NBA your first listen. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA.